Hey guys, on today's episode, we're gonna be going over the step-by-step process to properly spring clean your car in two different scenarios. This one over here, black Cayenne, absolutely disgusting, sand, salt, and brine from driving all winter. We need to focus on how to remove those rust-inducing minerals. And the second one, of course, the AMMONYC. It's the first time I've taken it out all spring here, so super excited. We do need to kind of clean it up a little bit, but certainly not as much as the Cayenne. So that and a whole lot more coming up on this episode of Drive and Protect. As you can see, the Cayenne has the typical winter driving remnants: dust, dirt everywhere, leaves, salt stains, oily steering wheel, and what looks like a sneeze or some type of spray on the rear view mirror. We have all the fun winter leftovers to clean on this one. Okay, for step number one, we're gonna do a quick inspection. I know a lot of people say, hey, why do I need to inspect my own car? But it's kind of important when you're doing a spring cleaning because you just wanna check on things. Everything from, are the brakes leaking, to more importantly, down here. I take a quick peek, when we're talking like 20, 30 seconds, just to see if there's any tar buildup around here. Why? It matters because we're gonna be adjusting the detail process based on how dirty the car is. So I'm not really seeing a ton of oil. Otherwise, we'd have to put a high pH all the way around the car. You might want to do that anyways for spring cleaning, but this is what I'm talking about. Very, very quick. Look in the wheel wells, just kind of get a game plan for what's going on. And most of the time, it's lower parts of the car, nothing crazy. I'm gonna pop the hood, and the reason I do that is just to see if there's any leaves and junk in here, because if I power wash that first, it becomes a little bit more difficult to remove. So yeah, sure enough, there's leaves here. So instead of going in here and power washing and just having this gunk and heavy mess, wow, that's really dirty down there too. 35 seconds, 40 seconds, and just get a quick game plan. All right, she's super dirty. Look at this. This is all salt buildup as well. Next, open all the doors and pull out the garbage, the floor mats, and anything that wasn't in the car from the manufacturer. Now, I'm not sure any other pro detailers run into the same situation as this one, but for whatever reason, most of my customers lightly clean up the interior of their car before they bring it to me in the studio. So there's not a ton of garbage in this one either. We work the interior first to avoid throwing the mats, kid seats, or anything else found in the car onto the wet ground. Plus, since the next step is vacuuming, if the hose gets wet in the water, it just makes a mess going in and out of the interior as you're vacuuming. So keep that in mind. You also have lots of options for vacuums. I'm using an in-wall one, which is my favorite thing in the entire studio. I love that central vac system. You can have a wet vac, which we're going to talk about later, Home Depot, that kind of thing. And this one here, a cordless one from Milwaukee that I use when I'm going on trips, let's say, or I'm working in a big garage and I have to go way in the back of collections. It doesn't matter. Just use what you have and vacuum the car. First, start by moving the seat back to expose the carpet under the seat, as well as lay the seat back down to expose the crevices for vacuuming. If you have access to compressed air or a blower, it can be really helpful to blow from back to front under the seat for easier and complete cleaning. When vacuuming the seats, make sure you use your fingers to expose the crevices, which always have a ton of dirt, dust, and little bits of food jammed into the seat. One of the interesting things I find when I'm doing a spring cleanup is there's a lot of moisturizer left over on the high touch areas of an interior. And obviously because it's winter, your hands are dry, you're putting a lot of moisturizer, and then of course it transfers over. So we do need to clean that off for the spring. To do that, we're using Titan 12 degreaser. That is a high pH. That's gonna lift those oils and we can wipe them away. Now on the rest of the car that doesn't have that same type of oil residue, we can use lather, either the brush, scrub pad, and a towel, and you're good to go. As you can see up close, the white discoloration is dried up lotion in the valleys of the leather. steering wheel is also lotion and hand oil sort of crushed into the leather over the years as you're squeezing the steering wheel. That slick appearance is from all the layering of those oils. Be extra careful on the steering wheel with the scrub pad to avoid removing the dye, especially on older steering wheels. If you're unsure, just use the less aggressive interior brush instead. The matte finish on the right of the wheel is how it's supposed to look without all the heavy oil buildup. I repeated the same steps on the rest of the interior with lather, an upholstery brush, or an interior brush, and a towel. It takes no time to wipe the interior, and it's actually relaxing, especially on the gas, brake, and dead pedals. I like to remove the cup holder protector and clean it under the sink because the bottom of the protector always seems to have some type of moisture or sticky stuff left from a spilled drink a month ago.
When it comes to cleaning the carpets in your car, you can see there are a ton of different ways to actually do it, but there's a few things to keep in mind. Number one is the carpet versus the mat. Now the mats can be removed from the vehicle, and that's a different way of cleaning it. The reason why is the carpets on the inside of your car typically have a cushion or a sound deadening underneath that fiber. And if you over soak the fiber in the act of cleaning it, you can have the water or the moisture penetrate through, and then it just sits there and it will harbor mold in the future. So we have to be very careful to minimize the amount of water or moisture being used to lift those dirts and oils or whatever is in the carpet. The second thing is we have so many different tools to actually do that, but the idea is it just makes it faster, more efficient, and you put down less water. In this particular case, we have a steam machine over here. That's not a lot of water to remove or displace the oils and the dirt from the fibers, and then you immediately suck it up. And then you have over here, you have a steam vacuum that puts the steam out and immediately draws it out. And if you can go even more sort of rudimentary without having all these fancy tools, you can use a bucket of warm water. You put a little bit of microfiber detergent in there, quickly scrub it, use a little bit of shag in there, lift that dirt, and then go in with an industrial home wet vac and immediately vacuum out. The idea here is just don't leave that water, that cleaner, to penetrate for too long. Otherwise, it's going to penetrate all the way through the carpets. Now, the difference here with a mat, you can power wash this if you want to, because there's really no cushion behind it, and you can let it dry properly before you put it in. So just keep all that in mind when you're working on the interior of your car, specifically the carpets.
First, spray shag lightly and then work the warm water and Revive detergent into the rug. Focus on using the least amount of water possible to get the job done. Then either wet vac, towel blot, or use the method I prefer, which is to shag, then steam, and then immediately steam vac all that moisture up. What's cool about the steam vac is the nozzle is pointing directly at the wet vac nozzle, making for minimal moisture left behind in the fabric. Again, if you don't have any of those fancy tools, that's cool. Just blot dry and you're good to go. For the removable mats, you can be a little bit more liberal with the water, which is good because they tend to be dirtier than the carpets underneath them. If you notice some stains, then use the appropriate formula. This stain is likely oil or grease, so I'm using Titan 12 degreaser. If it's a coffee stain, then use Siphon coffee or juice cleaner, and so on and so on. Just remember, all-purpose cleaners are not really, quote, all-purpose. It's just a catch-all type name. Use the right cleaner for the right stain. When I was done, I left them in the sun to dry. To protect and rejuvenate the leather, I'm using mousse conditioner. Unlike suntan lotion or hand lotion, this is designed specifically for leather without leaving behind that white discoloration we saw earlier, and at the same time, it increases its flexibility to avoid that premature cracking we see certainly on older interiors, and it leaves behind UV protection for the upcoming summer months.
When you're applying protection to leather, there's two types of leather that you have to be concerned about. The first one is non-perforated. You can just use an applicator pad like this one, but a lot of seats, especially in Porsche, have all these holes in it. If you put mousse on an applicator pad and then just jam it in there, you're gonna see it's gonna fill the holes. You don't wanna do that. So you take mousse, put it in a microfiber towel, a line about that long, 2-3 inches, and then mix it into the towel. So now it's in there, but it's all in the fibers of the towel. And what's great is it can get into these little perforations and you're still protecting it. You're still adding UV inhibitors and you're increasing the moisture of it, but you're not filling up the little holes. That's a quick little trick on vehicles that have perforated seats.
With the interior drying, focus on the exterior with foam, boost, and brute soap to remove the minerals by filling up the wash and wheel buckets. Step 1 on the exterior, especially after winter, is the engine bay. Likely, it's been a very long time since you focused here. Be sure to remove the leaves and the sticks and the twigs and whatever else you find caught in the jams, and then lightly rinse. Obviously, if you have an older car with exposed sensitive parts, then put a plastic bag over them, but otherwise, a light rinse and scrub with Plum or Titan is a safe thing to do. All this cleaning should be done with the tools from the wheel bucket and not the paint bucket. Keep that in mind. You don't want to cross-contaminate here.
Okay, now that the engine is done, we can focus on the wheels next, and I gotta tell you, this is my favorite part of any spring cleaning. You can go pretty crazy here and you can spend a lot of time. There are multiple options. You can use an in-ground lift like I have here. You can use a quick jack system. I've shown that over the years. We can do that in your driveway, lift the car up and take all 4 wheels off at once, or what I'm gonna show you right now, which is taking 1 wheel off at a time. Pop it off, clean everything, put the wheel back, and then move on. Or you can leave everything on the ground, which is totally cool. I'm gonna show you a neat technique for getting inside the rims called a wheel willy. So there's everything under the sun that you can do with wheels, but definitely take your time because these are gonna be full of sand, dirt, dust, and of course, minerals or salt that can eat away at all the important things like the calipers and your suspension. So you wanna take some time and clean these properly.
I always suggest putting plywood or some type of metal protection on your driveway or your floor to prevent the wheels on the jack from crushing the pavement or concrete underneath the load. First, break the wheels free on the ground, then lift the car and place safety jack stands underneath, and then remove the wheels to be extra safe. By doing this, it'll give you much more access to the suspension in the wheel wells. When the wheel is off, I can spend hours cleaning just this area of the car. But again, if you can't take the wheel off, that's totally cool. I'm gonna show you the step-by-step process in just a second for cleaning the wheel without taking it off. Now check this out. The calipers are actually painted aftermarket by Tom from Ace. You guys know Tom. I thought the Cayennes only came with black calipers, but when I asked the owner, she said that her husband got them repainted last year by Tom, which is very cool. It looks absolutely stock. If you don't have a power washer, you can also use an aerator or a foamer just to spread the cleaner around before you go crazy. Otherwise, use a power washer if you have it like I do. And if you have a steamer, you can go completely nuts. It is the most fun thing ever. You would look at this caliper and you say, oh my gosh, it's clean now. But as soon as you put the steam in there, more junk comes out. It's absolutely addicting.
This is why a spring cleaning is so important. There's tons of sand, salt. You can actually see the little salt bits right now coming off. It's covering the floor. That's 1 wheel that we did. Absolutely critical. I love this stuff.
When you're done, apply a coating to the caliper since you have complete access because the wheel is off. I repeated the same steps on the removed wheel as well.
Now, if you can't take the wheel off, that's totally understandable, but there are ways to clean the backside of the rim. We call these wheel woolies. You can see this one is extra long and has a very big end. This one here is a little bit skinnier. The reason that it's thinner is typically where the caliper is. It's a little bit closer to the inside of the wheel itself, so sometimes this can't fit in there. So there's multiple sizes is my point. The idea is you're first gonna rinse everything down, focus on the wheel well, then do the wheels, and then work top to bottom and focus on the inside of the rim as well as the caliper, then you can work the outside. So this is typically what we do on a normal wash. It is great to take the wheel off. You can see we went really nuts there, and you can have some fun, put your music on, and just relax. But for the most part, this is gonna get you where you need to go. But you can see there's just minerals absolutely everywhere. So this is critical for a spring cleanup. Be sure to use a towel to clean behind the spokes of the wheel as well. Never reuse that towel on the paint either. Don't forget to clean the exhaust with the wheel tools as you move around the car. Next, I like to clean the door jambs with Brute and Boost mixed with water in a spray bottle. This is the most overlooked area of the car that tends to breed the most oxidation. The bottom of the door traps salt against the rubber gasket, and it needs to be flushed out after winter. When dirt and leaves get caught in this little area here, this is what causes, look, there's a leaf caught in here. This is what causes oxidation. It gets trapped in there. So we have to come in, clean all of this out. So with our mixture of Boost and Brute, take your finger with gloves on and then run that product right in here. And make sure it gets a second to soak. You can also do the door jamb itself. I call this the Kevin Brown method. Spray and scrub at the same time. Now the only area I'd tell you to be careful on is the hinges. If you happen to clean off the grease, you can always re-grease it, but just stay away from it if possible. You can work around it with these little brushes, sorry. This is what I affectionately call the armpits of your car that most people forget about, but this is where the oxidation breeds. And we don't need to wash it off right now because we'll do that during the wash. Okay, now we're gonna be doing a rinse. Remember, we have soap in all the jams, so I'm gonna be focusing on pushing the water through the little seams or the jams to kind of flush all of the Brute that we just put in the door jam. So here we go. Coming out. Again, if you don't have a foam gun, you can simply use the aerator to spread the soap. Because I have a power washer already set up, I'm going to stick with my current method. Same thing, Brute and Boost for the post-winter cleanup. When it comes to washing your car, spring cleaning or otherwise, there is this method of using multiple buckets. We've used that for years. I've preached it for years. Now things have changed because we've come up with a better plan. If you notice here, there's multiple towels in our wash bucket, and the idea is you're only gonna pull the towel out of the bucket one time. You're gonna fold it into 4s, and then you're going to wash the car top to bottom. The goal here is to never reintroduce that dirty towel back into your bucket. In the past, we'd have one bucket full of soap and one bucket full of water, and you'd wring that out, clean it all out after you've washed it, and then go back. But you never really cleaned out all of the dirt. The goal or the mission is to never reintroduce a dirty towel into the bucket. Just put it away, put it in your a different bucket, put it in your slop sink, and grab another new towel. So you can have multiple towels based on the size and how dirty the vehicle is. So in this case, we have 2 or 3 towels in here. I'm gonna start top to bottom, and that's the new method for washing a car safely without scratching it. Now at this point in the process, if you actually stopped here, you'd be leaps and bounds further than most cars on the road. So congratulations, good job. But if you want to keep going forward, I'm going to show you how to clay the car. Then we're going to go and polish it and put a coating on it afterwards. So you decide where you want to stop and where you want to continue. So this particular one is in actually very good shape. I believe the owner keeps it indoors, but if you did want to clay it, I'll show you the quick process. If you notice, the car is still wet, so we didn't dry it. I'm going to take one of the towels and spread some soap on there. Then take what's called a clay bar. This looks like almost like a hamburger, and it is specific to automotive clay, so it's not like Play-Doh, that kind of thing. You're gonna squirt a little bit of lubrication. In this case, it's soap. And when you go back and forth, you got your fingers, 2 to 3 fingers in a little patty, and you're gonna go back and forth very quickly, and you're gonna be picking up any contamination. So if I were to go in, you can hear my hand right now, very quiet. If there was contamination, it'd be back and forth, and this is going to pick it up, sort of like a Biore strip that goes on your nose. You're gonna go like this, and you pick up all the blackheads. Kind of, in theory, that's what you'd be doing to the paint prior to us polishing it. In this case, it doesn't need it, but I just wanted to show you the process. It's very, very popular, very effective. But really, I call this the emergency room. You only go there, you only use it when you need it. You don't do it on every single wash. And this is a perfect example because this car is actually in decent shape because it sounds like they kept it in the garage all winter. As I was working my way around the car, the top area, the hood, the roof, the top of the doors all felt really good, meaning it wasn't parked outside, left underneath a tree, which is great. And as soon as I worked down here, I went, oh, wait a second. This is a different type of contamination. Still, we can use clay for it, but it's not the same as a tree dropping its sap on here. This is just from road use, tar, any kind of contamination that was on the pavement gets picked up by little nubs in the tire, spits up here, and this is a perfect location to do a little bit of clay before we go in and polish. Now the reason we want to clay is when I go into polish later on, if you choose to do that, a lot of this junk is going to get caught in the pad and then re-scour the paint as I move to the next section. So it's a good idea to come in here, use a little clay bar, just pick it off, and then your polish is going to look 10 times better when you're done. Once you wipe the area and once you go over the area here, you can see that's the contamination. That is definitely road tar, just from driving, obviously, on the lower parts of the car. Now, once you've removed it, look, here's the sound difference from before. Much different than previously. One of the tricks to using clay is once you see that you've removed the contamination, you don't need to wipe anymore. It's gone and move on to the next section. Some of the pitfalls of using clay is you go at it too long, you can actually start scouring the paint in the process of removing all that contamination, so keep that in mind. To dry the paint properly, use a drying lubricant to protect the paint from scratches during the wiping process. Compressed air or blowers can be helpful to dislodge the trapped water behind lights and mirrors. Okay, now we're on to the drying process. This is one of my favorite processes because I learned the most over the years. Now, years ago, we'd have multiple buckets like I mentioned before, and we really focused on washing the car without introducing any scratches. But at the end of it, I'd go, what's going on here? There seems to still be scratches in the paint. The reason why is the second half, meaning you wash in the first half and you dry in the second half, we didn't really have a process for drying properly or safely. We just kind of used chamois or squeegees and went like this with the water. And all of a sudden, if there was a little bit of dust or something that you missed in the wash, you just, just grind it into the paint. And that's where those scratches were coming from. And I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. So a couple of years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I developed a product, Hydrate. It's a lubricant and a protectant. You can see it's very viscous. And I'm using a microfiber towel, which is counterintuitive because microfiber towels, for whatever reason, don't like to absorb water when they're dry. But if you notice over there, I got the towel wet, I wrung it out, and then all of a sudden now it absorbs more water. So once I put this lubricant on there, you can dry the paint and you can see it's leaving behind these little streaks. Those streaks indicate that it's lubricated. And if you got this far and you clean the car and you're just doing the wash and the dry, I mean, you're in really good shape. We are gonna go a couple more steps. I'm gonna go through polishing the paint with a one step just to kind of rejuvenate it after 6 months of, in the winter, that kind of thing. And then we're gonna put a coating on it as well. But you can pick and choose how far you wanna go. But at minimum, dry your paint properly with lubrication and you're gonna be good to go for the rest of the spring.
If your paint's perfect, you can skip the rejuvenation step and focus on protection alone. But if your paint is a bit dull, using one polish and 2 pads is a very easy way to restore the depth and shine of your paint without a huge hassle. In my case, I'm using a 6-inch straight cut waffle pad with exfoliate polish on a Rupes 21mm machine. First, prime the pad by hand to coat every pore of the new foam pad. Notice I'm really working it in by hand. This is what's called priming a new pad. You want to do this to make sure that the foam is completely covered and there's no dry spots. Once you feel like everything has been primed, then add 2 or 3 more dots to the pad, put the machine on speed 3, maybe 3.5, and then work the panel from right to left in roughly a 2x2 section. And then once you're done, wipe it off and inspect. Did it actually accomplish what you were trying to accomplish? Can you move on, or do you need to do another step? Likewise, if you happen to run into heavier damage shown here, then switch to a sheer wool cutting pad for extra leveling on deeper scratches. Be sure to repeat the same exact priming process as you did on the foam pad before you use the wool pad. Once you feel like the scratches have been removed, then go back in with the foam pad and repeat that same process and you're good to go. Be sure to blow out or clean out your pad after every 1 to 2 panels. With today's technology, you can get a really good finish and not jeopardize the integrity of the paint or have scary tools, let's say like a rotor or something that requires a higher level of skill. Dual action polishers, large throw machines, they're all very doable in your driveway. So at minimum, give it a shot. I believe that you're gonna really perfect the paint to a point where you're gonna say, oh my gosh, this thing looks absolutely amazing. To get that extra maybe 5 or 10% to go to a professional detailer is great, but you can really make your paint pop in the driveway and it's super easy.
All right, after about an hour or so, the paint looks really, really good, but at the same time, we didn't do a multi-step process. We did a one-step sort of spring cleaning rejuvenation. If you can see here, the pad, although the paint was very clean, you can see inside the pores of the paint quite dirty. So now that we've cleaned that out, we do have to protect it. We're gonna go from easiest to most durable. In this case, we have cream. That is a wax. We put it on, take it off, very easy, crazy shine, lots of hydrophobic nature. It doesn't last as long as a synthetic sealant like this one here. It also has abrasives in it, so you can do a one-step polish with it as well. But in this case, this customer wants to go long-term with a coating. Now, it does take a little bit longer to put on and take off, but you are gonna get more durability out of it.
Prior to coating with Reflex Pro 2, wipe down the paint with a 50-50 isopropyl alcohol mix to remove any remaining oils from the surface. Then, with a mask on, apply the coating in a thick layer with an applicator pad. Wait for it to rainbow, which is usually about 1 to 3 minutes depending on the temperature outside and the humidity, etc. Then buff clean with multiple towels. Once you're done with the coating and you want to go a little crazy, apply Frame Pro Trim Coat to the dried out plastic after a healthy wipe down again with the 50/50 ISO. As you can see on the front grille here, it's kind of just faded out from probably never having protection on it, but certainly after a long, hard winter. Rip open the baggie and pull out the wipes, and then only wipe in straight lines. Don't do circles here. You can see the 50/50 after I do just half of the grille, completely night and day. And the depth and shine is going to last up to about 12 months, depending on how you maintain it. Finally, clean your windows really well after winter. There's always sand and salt and just grit on there, including whatever the heck happened to the rear view mirror and screens. No idea what's going on there, but your last step should be to install the mats and then, of course, apply mud tire and engine protectant to avoid having that residue during those applications transfer from your hands to the glass as you're cleaning it. So keep that in mind. Now that the daily is done and ready for spring, it's time to bring in the 964. After a quick reorganization in the studio with the Charger that didn't want to move, I headed over to my home garage to take out the 964 for the first time in a while. Step one before I move any car is just to take a quick inspection like I did on the Cayenne, but this case, it's been sitting a long time. I want to get underneath it. I want to see if there's brake fluid coming out. It's an older car, so really just take an extra minute to see what's going on. Before I moved it, I unplugged the Charger and my charge guard, which protects the paint from the Charger wire. As some of you may know, they sold out in the first few days and they're back in stock now, but the one I'm using here is the prototype I made with my mother, so it means the world to me. That's why I have it on the 964. She's the absolute best. I also asked her, she's a sewing guru, so I also asked her if she could help me with the seat guard as well. The seat guard is just a waterproof seat protector that you can easily install and remove when you're dirty or sweaty from the gym or whatever. You're dropping off your car at the mechanic, that kind of thing. I don't like people getting in my car with dirty pants, no less me after cleaning cars that have, mouse poop everywhere. I don't want to get into my nice fancy car to drive home and then ruin my seat, so that's why the seat guard exists. In this particular case, I've been cleaning the Cayenne all day long and didn't want to get into my lovely 964 Sparco Evos with a dirty butt. So this is the first time the 964 has seen sun in a very long time. Super pumped. She looks good, a little bit dusty here, no problem. What I like to do is just check everything, make sure there's no major leaks. Let it idle for a little bit. But she's pretty bulletproof, so I'm gonna let it idle for a few minutes, but I wanna show you something inside the garage. Now this is pretty normal, come here. Now one of the big things is with the 964, one of the sayings with any Porsche is, if it isn't leaking, there's no oil in it kind of thing. So it always leaks a little bit. Relatively normal, especially over the winter. The seals haven't heated up. So this is pretty typical, so I'm not shocked at what I'm seeing right now. So far so good. I think for maybe the GT3 or another vehicle that might be a little bit concerning, but for the 964, we're right on target here. So let me let it warm up. We'll head into the shop and give it a proper wash. So cool. This is the greatest car ever. This is nice. All right, so I just got back from my first drive in a couple of months. Super pumped to be back in the 964. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering why there's dust on my car. So there's two reasons why. I don't use a car cover, although I have a ton of car covers. I don't do it for two reasons. One, I like to keep the windows down like you saw in my garage to have airflow. Most people don't realize that that airflow is gonna help prevent mold and mildew from building up. But by default, you are gonna get some dust inside the car. It's kind of a trade-off. The second thing is, this is just purely me being crazy. When I walk into my garage and I go in for the night, I like to do that like, oh yeah, and then I walk right by. So that's what's going on here. So that's why there's dust, and I own a car wash so I can clean it real easily. So that's what's going on right now. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is just give this a proper wash and enjoy the entire process. This is a big deal. This is my dream car. Haven't driven it in a long time. So enjoy your wash process, because I know that I am going to. This is just gonna be nuts. Woo, love my car.
After I got to the studio, I did a little bit more of a thorough inspection after my first 5-mile drive, just to see if anything loosened up or squirted out or whatever. Then I did my first proper wash in a couple of weeks, months, because I just haven't been with the car. It's been so cold in the Northeast. So it's the first time I've really been reacquainted. So take your time, enjoy the process, especially if you're pulling out your weekend warrior, your dream car, just like the 964.
Feels so good.
Until the spring wakes me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy. I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your treasure's seminal. I want you to stay true to what's right for you. No matter who or know what will others say, just find your way and try to stay true.
Here's a quick little tip. When I'm drying my own cars, certainly out of direct sunlight, I spray hydrate on the entire car. I walk all the way around, and then I wipe it clean. I'm not worried about it drying or anything because I'm not in the sun. It's just a quick and easy way to dry and protect the paint when you're sort of right before you drive. So every time I go out, I like to do this kind of rinse, hydrate, and the car looks brand new, as if I just detailed it every time I drive it. Well, over the winter, apparently my fire extinguisher, so when you go to the track with this, you have to have a fire extinguisher, and it loosened up, so I'm tightening up a little bracket here so that it doesn't wiggle anymore, because when I got in, the fire extinguisher was down and the pin somehow came out, which is never a good luck. That's all I need, is the fire extinguisher to go off in here. But I guess over time, it just weakened up or loosened up or whatever, and it fell. So now it's back. These are the little things that you go through in springtime, because you just don't, you know, you're not driving it as much, so you don't see all the problems that happen. Again, not a big deal, but this is the fun part of get everything back to working. Okay, now we need to focus on the door jambs. I just dried everything, and you can see all of this is starting to turn a little white. See, it's a little more white than I would like it to be. So we do need to maintain these gaskets. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. To maintain the door gaskets, I'm using oleo rubber and trim dressing, which is silicone free. Now, silicone free is really important because it's not gonna dry out the flexibility of the rubber. Gaskets, for whatever reason, are relatively expensive to replace, so it's a good idea to make sure that they stay moist and avoid drying out, especially after winter. On the interior, I did a very light wipe down with lather just to remove the dust from the open window all winter. Now, when it comes to the seats, I went a little bit heavier with the cleaning because they're usually a bit sweaty. The interior cabin is super tight. I'm super tall. The seats are super snug. And I have no air conditioning because, you know, race car. So the cloth gets ripe with sweat quickly. I spray shag first and then steam clean to increase the cleaning strength without over soaking the material because I need to drive it later on today. Then I blotted dry. Because it's a new year, I'm applying a fresh layer of silk to the leather. The before and after is completely insane. It looks and more importantly feels brand new, and it's perfect for older Porsche interiors. When you're done doing that, make sure you buff to a matte finish. But I can say when I sat in the car for the first time after doing it in a long time, the interior just feels darker because the depth is there. So honestly, it just felt like a completely different car. So although it takes a little bit more effort to put silk on, it is well worth that effort. Finally, I gave a quick vacuum, I touched up the steering wheel, then added conceal PPF wax to the clear bra. Now this is my favorite part of cleaning my show car. The paint just drips when I'm done. I like listening to music and just kind of zoning off and waxing my car. That's why I love paste wax. I did the same thing on the rims. This time it was Gillette wheel wax for some extra pop, and it makes cleaning really easy after drying. It beads like crazy, and you just blow the brake dust off. It's super simple. For the glass, I sometimes use that same 50-50 ISO mixture we used before the coating on the windshield interior with the scrub pad if it's super greasy or foggy. Now the greasiness usually happens on newer cars, but if a car's been sitting for a long period of time, it's a good habit to use ISO. It cleans much better, but you want to make sure that you don't have any of those little droplets go on your dashboard in case it discolors it. I've never really had that problem, but make sure you leave a towel down just in case. Last but not least, put a fresh coat of tire gel on before double checking your tire pressures before you head out on the road.
Well, there you go. The spring cleanup is not as intensive as, let's say, a daily driver, but nonetheless, it is a really important. One, because it's fun to do, and two, you want to get it maintained for the rest of the driving season. Now, the only thing left to do with it looking this good is to go for a drive. Well guys, there you have it, the spring detail on both the daily driver and the weekend warrior. The goal here is just to enjoy the process of getting your car ready for spring. Have a good time, put some music on, and just love life. These cars are absolutely amazing. Of course, guys, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Larry at AMMONYC.com. Have a wonderful spring and see you out on the road.